All right, let's get right to it. I got a lot to show you, and every bit of it is life or death. You definitely want to see it. Let's go. So this article just came out like 2 hours ago, I believe, that says right here, the U.S. military presence near ISIS-Ra is a blunt message to Iran and Hezbollah. Now, do you see what's here on the picture right there and right here? You see that? It's a blunt message, it says. And we're going to get into that article and a few others. And most importantly, the word. Hold on tight. Strap up your boots. Get suited and booted. Get your sleeves rolled up. And your bib on. I got plenty for you. So, I don't know if you've been reading some of the headlines or not, but I mean, even in articles and subjects that are off topic, I guess I would say, they are, like I've been trying to show you, they are mentioning what's going on. Because, like, look right here, first extinction alert issued in 70 years. And any of these articles, you can you can read the message, like I said, that's being proclaimed, and it's being proclaimed loudly, Mishpaka. Now, I don't know if you've seen this article or the news about this earthquake in Afghanistan. You can see the numbers. It killed 2,445, and the time that it came out was 4:20. You see they got the 24 in there and the 18. And I mean, look, 240, 1,320. This is what's going on here, my Mishpaka. But I wanna say something before I get digging into this too much. There's some things that I've been, well, since yesterday, I've been wanting to come on here and let you know. And I want to apologize, first of all, for sounding or getting irritated, a little bit. There's there's so much that I want to share with y'all, and the response, that this message has received. So it is frustrating, but that's still no excuse. I'm the one that needs to be patient. I need to be patient when I'm delivering this message, and I realize that I need to understand that the message is going to be rejected by most. But I still have a job to do. I still love you. And so I'm going to, like I've been saying, like Messiah did, I'm going to love all the way until the end. And just hope and pray that y'all begin to see the severity of this message, the urgency, and the time that we're in. And hopefully, like I said, hopefully I can be patient, and not expect most to see this, you know what I mean? So, but at the same time, be persistent and diligent. But look at this article right here. It says a 13-hour flight to nowhere. 180-degree turn for U.S. travelers bound to Israel. And I don't know if you remember or you recall or not, but I was just reading a couple things here not too long ago that used that same word, nowhere. And when I show you where that nowhere comes from, you'll understand what this message is. You'll understand the urgency in it. So I hope you pay attention. And you can see right here that, the 54 was used, 13, 24, which flight radar 24, that's understandable that's on there. You know, I get that. So I just showed you that. Okay, now I don't know if I showed this to you or not before, but the hexagram for 45, and I'm gonna explain to you why I found out why they're using the 45 and the 54 the way they are. Well, for one, right here, the hexagram for 45 they use in it, and like right there it says it's for it's the symbol for gathering together, contraction, and for unity, making whole. You see, but Utah was the 45th state. And there's some things, I don't think I saved them tonight. Maybe next video, Abba willing, I'll try to remember and bring it to you. There's some things about Utah that if I show them to you, you'll understand perfectly why they're using the 45. And the 54 is for the marrying maiden. Propriety, making do. The marrying maiden, the symbol of the marriage of the younger sister, the marrying girl, the second wife, the converting maidenhood, returning maiden. You see, and so no doubt that's why they're using that. And it's because, you know, and it's not a coincidence that Utah is the 45th state. So this is huge right here, and I hope you realize and remember. I hope you remember what we read from Zechariah, and how it is in line perfectly with that story we read about the scroll that's written on either side. And I dug into that a little bit. The guy that owned it last, I guess the guy that sold it to Israel, or it just they received it from like his estate. I don't know if this guy's still alive or not, because he fought in World War I and stuff, I believe. His name was Siegfried Sassoon. So that codex, that Hebrew Bible that flew to Israel, it's known as the Sassoon Codex. And it didn't take long for me to find this right there in his Wikipedia. Their publishing company was called the Flying Scroll Imprint, Mishpachah. So, I mean, you should see, no doubt that's what is going on. And I don't think I brought a lot about that, about this guy, but you should do your own due diligence too. I encourage you to go look into this guy, look into the Sassoon Codex, and you can see I can't believe I didn't bring it. I don't think I have any still shots of it, screenshots, but that Sassoon Codex, it's traveled around the world, over the years, for thousands of years, I guess. And it should be no coincidence. You know, you should understand perfectly when you read in there and you see that everywhere it's went, destruction has followed it. Whatever place it's been to, things around it have crumbled, and then the codex ends up going somewhere else. Yeah. So I guess I saved that a couple too many times here, this flight to nowhere. But that's huge too. I mean, the fact that they said nowhere, as soon as I seen that, I was like, well, I'm gonna have to check that out. But look, you can see the numbers they're using. It should be evident to you by now what they're doing. Okay, and to go back to the rock story where they dropped the rock off in the Utah desert. That came from the Osiris story and the Benu story, right? You should remember. But look right here. There's 42s and 24s everywhere in this story. And it's all about the new kingdom, the rising kingdom out of the ashes. 42 sins. See it right there? 42 sins. And if you read 42 judges, and if you read the story, you know, you'll see that it's all about, it's like I've said, the enemy, these people or whoever they are, they knew what was coming. They knew how the Most High would do this. You know, they read his word. They know what his word says. So they like I said, maybe it's rules of engagement, whatever it is, but you can see that they've taken the truth that comes from the mouth of the Most High, and they've twisted it and warped it and turned it into their own stories. But the truth is still in there. Like right here, I mean, this story here that's on the screen was all about the weighing of the heart, putting the heart on the scale. And it's got everything to do with the new kingdom. Now, okay, here is a story, and I think it's called Nowhere. The Land of Nowhere, or something like that. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about this, but you can see this chapter here is called The Land of Nowhere, and the book is Welcome to the Land of Nowhere, I believe. It's something like that. But notice, right here, let's see. Right here in the middle, right here, hexagonal, you see that? It says the men on the deck became rowdy, and thousands of screens appeared around the bridge. Each screen focused on the planet, showing a group of 10 to 20 of the hexagonal tiles that mirrored the skies above. And then right here, the third paragraph from the top says, the world was swathed in shadow, yet the sun caught the planet just right. One could catch a glimpse of the tens of billions of hexagonal panels that made up the planet. Hexagonal. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about this too much, but you can see right here that this story, it is about everything we've been talking about. Like right there, look. The earth seemed to be swallowed by this wall of darkness. And even the numbers are in this story. But, like I said, I'm not going to get into it too much. And here's another story of nowhere that I found in Marvel database again, just like all the other things. But notice the balloon, the frog balloons up here in this picture. But check this out. Nearly 70 years later, 70 years, Jimmy woke up from his coma, but was in a catatonic state. You should see right away what that is implying. He was used as a pawn by Hydra to try to trap Captain America in Nowhere, and was ultimately shot and mortally wounded by Queen Hydra without ever recovering full consciousness. And look at this. The cloud door. During Jimmy's first encounter in Nowhere, he found himself stuck in the clouds. The only other point of reference in this seemingly endless sea of clouds is a door with a large lamp post attached to it. Sliding down the lamp post would bring you to Nowhere's surface if you slid down the lamp post. And notice the door is red. You should be picking up on the symbolism. The Forest of Talking Trees. The Forest of Talking Trees is obviously named after the sentient trees in the area that are able to talk and have animated branches. This realm is also the home of Wump Jump, the dragon, whose bark is worse than his bite. Yeah. The mountains of Want were apparently the only means of returning to Earth from Nowhere. You see? And it says, although Jimmy since found other access points between Earth and his realm. And here you see the gnomes. It's mentioned in the gnomes, and we saw them gnomes in the story of Osiris and Benu that was talking about gnomes. And so this is all connected, my mish. Now, like I said, the word is where it's at. That's where it always is. And I have some unbelievable word to share with you tonight, my mishpaka. But there's a couple things I just want to show you. Remember, I was telling you that the truth's coming out. And every day I see more and more truth, more and more articles about things like this right here. Look, this says, the suggestion that ancient Greeks reached America before Columbus may seem far-fetched, but certain researchers think otherwise. The idea is based entirely on a new examination of dialogue written by the Greek historian. So they've been finding this in history books, wherever those things were written. The physics of archaeology at the University of Aegean studied Plutarch, however you say his name, text, and came up with the theory that ancient Greeks did reach America. And right here, I think is, right here. This middle paragraph. The scientist says the ancient Greek settlers may have journeyed to today's America for the sake of exploration, riches, and religious purposes. And you can see this top paragraph. It says, others dismiss it completely, saying that there is no evidence of ancient Greeks reaching America, much less staying here, even for a brief period of time. Now, you see, that's how it's been for 70 years. You know, it's the truth gets knocked in the head as soon as it comes out. And why? Like that, them scientists said that there's no evidence. How isn't there evidence? This is a big piece of land, you know. I mean, how could they just say that? And they're much less staying there, even for a brief period of time. How would they know that they didn't even come for even a brief period of time? But we know, I've laid plenty of evidence on here showing that there has been plenty of evidence. And you can see here, like right here, it says this second paragraph. It says, has shown and demonstrated through computer programs that ancient Greeks knew that west of the three islands and northwest of Britain there was a great continent. The purpose of these travels during the Bronze Age was related to trade and the transportation of high-grade copper from Lake Superior on the border of the U.S. and Canada. And I've put the evidence, the proof that there were before 1776 there were. I've showed you the maps where it talks about the Tajaglunk, and it said that they manufactured copper axes and stuff. But look, if you remember, we've read quite a bit about Kronos. We've seen that name, Kronos, and that had to be here in the article too. And if you look up Kronos, the myth about Kronos, it's pretty much the same thing as the Osiris and Benu myth. And just to back that up even more, you can see this article here. It says Native American graves found at Elko Yards development in Redwood City. And there's their numbers. There's the 8.3, the 24. And it says, let me see. Redwood City's vast Elko Yards development is the site of an ancient Native American burial ground. And for at least a year, an undisclosed number of skeletal remains, some perhaps hundreds, an undisclosed number of skeletal remains, some perhaps hundreds or thousands of years old, were uncovered while excavating for the underground parking structure. The burial grounds, which were uncovered between 22 and 23, shed light on a potentially significant ancient site that is a long forgotten part of Redwood City's history, and one that seemed to be largely discounted and thought to have been destroyed long ago. A consultant's evaluation of the site, which is located in the 1300 block of Main Street, found the soil was thoroughly disturbed from previous earth moving and construction over the years. And this IQHQ determined the Elko Yards development didn't have significant historical or pre-conquest value because it was so disturbed. But with the discovery of the skeletal remains, whether that evaluation still stands remains an open question. Neither the developer, IQHQ, nor the city of Redwood City would discuss the findings. The city and the developer have kept the discovery under wraps. I wonder why. I wonder why that would be. With the city stating state law protects details of archaeological findings such as what was found and the location. You see, this is how they did it with the Great New Deal and the Works Act or whatever. All these things, they've wrapped it up. But now the word is telling us, Mishpachah. I don't want to say prove me wrong, because I don't want it to sound like I'm trying to prove this to you because I want to be right. You should know by now that I'm doing this, and if you'll see it in the word, you'll see why I'm doing it. You'll see that I have to, and I do get frustrated sometimes, and I need to be patient, like I said, and just keep my head down and keep working at it until there's a breakthrough, and hopefully it's soon, because I sure could use some help. I mean, just imagine if there was more than me digging through this stuff, looking for the truth of this and sharing it with our brothers and our sisters. Just imagine. But you can see that they hid this. And let me see, there's one part in here I want to show you. Okay, Jennifer Guma, deputy city manager, said that aside from information that is protected and exempt from disclosure under state law, the landowner is required to consider the most likely descendants' recommendations for treatment of the remains in accordance with the public resource law. Therefore, the city is not at liberty to share information without the most likely descendants' consent. The city underscores that this is an exceptionally sensitive issue and we hold the highest respect, whatever. The city can confirm that the remains were discovered between the summers of 2022 and 2023. And you can see in here they lied about it at first. Let me see. The discovery might have remained quiet except for observant business owners whose establishments are adjacent to the site. They saw a flurry of activity, then a tent over the area where archaeologists were brushing off remains in a deep pit dug by a backhoe. First in June of 2022 and later in the summer of 2023. Work at the massive development ceased near the location during that time, they said. I asked what they found, and they said, oh, just some rocks. The owner of a nearby establishment who didn't want his name published said he later saw a photograph a worker had taken of a skull and an elbow right across from his door. They dug below the burial mound and found multiple skeletons, he said. They dug and put new lines in and fiber optic cables. The native elders came and blessed the remains, and see, you can see, no telling what they found and how many was there. And that's how it's been. Anytime, you should know, you're probably familiar, anytime they found giant skeletons, remains, one thing that kind of started my whole mission here, when I lived in Wisconsin, I lived in the southwest corner of Wisconsin, down by Dubuque, Iowa. And one day, me and my children went to Dubuque, East Dubuque, to go to this park to go for like a hike. And I had never been there before. And we pulled up. I can't remember the name of it, but there was mounds. There was like a bunch of mounds in this park. And there was a plaque, like an information plaque or whatever. And I went up and read it, and it said that they were mounds of the ancient Native Americans known as the Hopewells, and they said that they were from before all the tribes that we know, I guess, is what the thing was saying. And it said those mounds were ancient burial mounds for those Native Americans. Okay, and then we went up to the park, and on top of those mounds were picnic areas built. There was little round areas right on the top of it. And each one had a barbecue pit and a couple picnic tables. I'm not even kidding you. And then I got looking around, and there was cameras up in the trees hid out all over this park. And that raised raised the red flags for me. And so when I went home, I got digging, and sure enough, the first skeleton that was taken out of that mound, the one mound, was 9 feet tall. And it said that they removed the remains, the skeletal remains, they backed a cement truck up to the mouth of it and threw the hose down in the mouth and filled the whole mound, the hole down, the cavity up with concrete. And after that, I was kind of, intrigued before that, but after that, it was like I was on a mission. And you can see there's more information on this. And I brought this to you. I wanted to show you how they do it, how they lie, and just, you never know. And, they make it to where you never hear about these things. But you see the 38, it's in there too. Now notice this article. It says, in first, archaeologists extract DNA of ancient Israelites. And this came out today at 12:15. A rare First Temple period family burial opens the door to genetic studies on the true origin of the ancient Israelites and their links to modern Jewish populations. For the first time, ancient DNA has been recovered from the bodies of ancient Israelites living in the First Temple period, Haaretz has learned. This achievement, a holy grail in the study of lost civilizations, was enabled following the discovery near Jerusalem of a rare family tomb dating to the Iron Age. So far, the collaboration of archaeologists and geneticists has been able to extract genetic material from two individuals, producing partial information, which is a tiny sample indeed. Where was I? Preliminary results from the excavation and DNA study were expected to be presented at a conference about new archaeological discoveries in Jerusalem and its environs on Wednesday. And Haaretz has obtained an advance copy of the researchers' paper. The conference has since been delayed due to the ongoing conflict. Right here. King David's Jerusalem wasn't where we thought, new study argues. Israeli archaeologist claims has found King David's kingdom, but fellow researchers cry foul. And there's the 24. Look, 6 kids and 6 children and 6 adults and 4 children. Excuse me. But based on the pottery typology used in the funerary offerings, it seems that the tomb was used for a prolonged period around 750 to 650 BCE, placing it in the late Iron Age or late First Temple period. I suppose that we are dealing with a family tomb, likely from the elite of whoever, whose members were buried there over a long period of time. We don't know how big it was originally because most of it was destroyed in recent years. Who is the ancient? That guy? The technique of extracting genetic material from ancient bones, teeth, and other organic remains began to emerge over 20 years ago and has since reached such sophistication that researchers are even divining some information on creatures that lived over 1 million years ago. See how they do that? They're so smart, aren't they? It is rare for bones to be preserved well enough to provide any genetic material at all, yet the ability to extract and sequence genetic material from ancient remains has given researchers major insights into the origins, migrations, and history of human populations. But big questions remain when it comes to the genetic history of those people. Looking far into the past, inquisitive minds have long asked, who were the ancient Hebrews? The inhabitants of the biblical kingdoms of Judah and Israel in the Iron Age, 12th to the 6th century BCE. From which population did they descend, and how were they connected to their neighbors, the Philistines, Edomites, and Moabites, and so on? Looking at the present, we wonder what is the genetic link between the First Temple period Israelites and today's Jews, and which other populations intermingled with them over millennia of exile, wanderings, and persecutions. And then there is a big mystery. There is the big mystery surrounding the origin of modern Jewish groups, particularly of Europe's Ashkenazi population, whose communities first emerged in the Rhineland at the height of the Middle Ages. By the way, these questions exist independently of the political conflict over competing claims to the Holy Land, although these issues are often cooped and distorted in the toxic debate over which modern population has the greatest link to the ancestral inhabitants of the Levant. Over the years, scientists have found some indirect evidence pertaining to the genetic origins of the Israelites. You see, we could go through any of these white papers and the documents and everything where they store what they claim is the evidence for that being the right place, and you'll find All the stuff I've dug through, and I've dug through a lot, and it's they'll tell you, they tell you that we really didn't have any evidence that was it. We just chose that piece of land. I've put forth, the proof of that. And, they're trying to, you can see that there's people trying to connect the dots here with DNA sampling from things, but that, that should never be why we based our belief in that being the place. It should have never happened. And if you want, some evidence to what I just said, look right here. It says, archaeologists who find ancient graves are often pressured by ultra-Orthodox groups to quickly rebury any bones they unearth. Now, why would they do that, do you suppose? Right down here at the bottom, it says, it's true that no ancient Hebrew inscriptions were found in the burial, confirming that the deceased were Israelites. However, the pottery assemblage is typical of what is found in late First Temple period. You see, there's never been any proof. And if anyone picked it up off the ground, someone probably planted it there. Now, back to this before we get into the word. Now, look, they don't do any, none of this is random, my mishpachah. There's a reason you're seeing them two numbers right there. Trust me. And there's the 58 down here at the bottom. 158. That message, one of the officials said, is stand down, specifically when it comes to any consideration and of whatever's going on. And I've heard some reports, I've seen some reports that it's being bombarded over there right now, my mishpachah. And like I said in the last video, you should know that the Most High is working, and this time there's too many coincidences for this not to be what's going on. There's too much evidence that's pointing at all these things. I mean, we should all understand that that's what's happening. And I think, that the reason, I've been saying what the reason is why no one is jumping at this, because no one wants for it to be that serious. They don't want to think about following Moses across the wilderness and walking through the Sea of Reeds, the Red Sea, and all that. I mean, they want to keep their life going as it is. But at the same time, everyone claims they want it to end. Well, there's only one solution, my mishpachah. And you should know, I'm begging you to realize that the solution is action. And I'm asking you to understand that I wouldn't be asking you that for any other reason but that I've seen this message. I've seen what the Most High is telling us to do, and that we're gonna have to do it. Let me show you. And it's no coincidence that the verse of the day is Psalms 9, verse 1. I praise you, O Yahuwah, with all my heart. I declare all your wonders. It's no coincidence once you see this. And look, you seen the number on that airplane? It was 78. You know the 400 years is the number of years for the captivity of Yasharal. Okay? The 70 years is that it's from, we've read it in Daniel, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel, and Isaiah. So we should understand that there's a reason you're seeing those numbers, my mishpachah. But check this out, what Psalm 78 says. My people, give ear to my Torah. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I open my mouth in a parable. I utter riddles of old, which we have heard and known, for our fathers have related them to us. We did not hide them from their children, relating to the generation to come the praises of Yahuwah and his strength and his wonders which he has done. For he raised a witness in Jacob and set a Torah in Yasharal, which he commanded our fathers to teach them to their children, that it might be known to a generation to come, to children who would be born, to rise up and relate them to their children, and place their trust in the Most High, and not forget the works of the Most High, but watch over his command, and not be like their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation which did not prepare its heart. They didn't put their heart on the scale, whose spirit was not steadfast with the Most High. The children of Ephraim, armed bowmen, turned back in the day of battle. Armed bowmen, preachers and teachers and shepherds, armed men with brandishing the sword on their thigh. That's supposed to be out here slicing and dicing, but in the day of battle, where are they? There's no one around. No one's looking at these things. They did not guard the covenant of the Most High, and they refused to walk in his Torah. There you go. That says it all. That should tell you everything. That how'd they turn back in the day of battle? They did not guard the covenant. The covenant is about the land. And they refused to walk in his Torah. And they forgot his deeds and his wonders which he had shown them. He did wonders in the sight of their fathers, in the land of Mitzrayim, Egypt, in the field of Soan. He split the sea and caused them to pass through, and he made the waters stand up like a heap, and led them with the cloud by day, and all the night with the light of fire. He split the rocks in the wilderness, and made them drink as from the great depths, and brought forth streams from the rock, and caused waters to come down as rivers. That's that truth, Mishpachah. Yet they sinned they sinned still more against him, to rebel against the Most High in the desert, and they tried the Most High in their heart by asking food according to their desire. And they spoke against the Most High. They said, is the Most High able to set a table in the wilderness? There's a reason that he's wanting you to read this right here, Mishpachah. There's a reason. It's not just random. Look, he struck the rock, so that the waters gushed out and the streams overflowed. Is he able to give bread also? Would he provide meat for his people? Therefore Yahuwah heard, and he was wroth, so a fire was kindled against Jacob, and displeasure also came up against Yasharal. But they did not believe in the Most High, neither did they trust in his deliverance. Mishpachah. I don't want to say, let me put it to you this way. I've been telling you, y'all should know, I'm not an educated man. I mean, just picture that Abba, he's put his message of deliverance in his word, okay? And just picture me as like a mechanic or something. That's who I am, trying to deliver this message to the people. And I say things that sound like they might sound condescending sometimes. When I say, like, prove me wrong, I'm not saying that so I can prove you that I'm right. That's not why I'm saying it. I'm saying it so I hope that you'll go, because I haven't been able to encourage anyone except for one person to actually go and read this word and see this message that's all through the word, and see that that's what is going on right now. I mean, I've laid out too much proof here, my Mishpachah, for you not to be coming back and saying, yeah, I seen this. And, like I said a minute ago, can you imagine how far we could get if there was more than me looking at all this stuff? But what's everyone looking at? They're looking at nothing, basically. It don't add up. And I'm going to read to you here in just a minute why that is, why the people are not seeing it. But Mishpachah, if you're, like you remember what we read in was it Isaiah, where it says, those of you who seek righteousness and you seek Yahuwah, I know that's you, that's why you're here. Then he goes on to say, he says, look to the rock you were hewn from. Look to the pit where you were dug from. Look to Abraham, who Abba said he took him when he was alone and caused him to walk through the wilderness. Mishpachah, you have to see this message. You have to understand what's going on, because those people with the expectation of that place over there, when that place is no more, their expectation will fail them. Our expectation, it's all in his word. Yet he had commanded the clouds above and opened the doors of the heavens, and he rained down manna on them to eat and gave them the grain of the heavens. Men ate bread of the Almighty. He sent them provisions to satisfaction. To satisfaction, Mishpachah. I've been telling you how satisfied I am. If you could just see just a portion of the things that he's been showing me, you too could be that satisfied. We could be doing things, big things, that the Most High has planned for us. But instead, we go on living our lives. We go on thinking about things in this world, and we read the word of the Most High, but we're not doing those things, my Mishpachah. Yes, we are supposed to keep the commands and do these things, yes, but we're not walking in faith. We're not putting our childlike faith into action, and it has to be done. He made an east wind blow in the heavens, and by his power he brought in the south wind. And he rained meat on them like the dust, and winged birds like the sand of the seas, and let them fall in the midst of his camp all around his dwelling place. So they ate and were completely satisfied, for he brought them what they desired. They had not turned away from their desire. Their food was still in their mouths. When the wrath of the Most High came against them, and he killed among their fat ones, and he struck down the choice ones of Yasharal, in spite of all this, they still sinned and did not believe in his wonders. They didn't believe it. Mishpachah, I don't want to say prove me wrong, but that's why I've been saying it. It's like, just come see, come check it out. And if I'm wrong, then what do you have to lose? Go on, and we'll just end this whole conversation. But once you see these things, you can come and partake too. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. So he ended their days in a breath, and their years in trouble. When he killed them, then they sought him, and they returned and did earnestly seek the Most High. And they remembered that the Most High was their rock, and that the Most High their Redeemer. But they flattered him with their mouth, and they lied to him with their tongue, for their heart was not steadfast with him, and they were not true to his covenant. But he, the compassionate one, pardoned crookedness, and did not destroy them, and many times he turned his displeasure away, and did not stir up all his wrath. For he remembered that they were but flesh, a passing breath that does not return. How often they rebelled against him in the wilderness, and grieved him in the desert. And again they tried the Most High, and provoked the set-apart one of Yasharal. They did not remember his hand, the day when he redeemed them from their adversary. How he worked his signs in Egypt, Mitzrayim, and his wonders in the field of Soan. He turned their rivers into blood, and they could not drink their streams. That's why, right there, that these people aren't seeing this truth. He turned their truth into blood because they refused it. They stand there with their forehead just as hard as can be, and the truth just bouncing off of their forehead. They can't take it because the cares and the lust of this world, it chokes it out. They only want to just keep living their life and just doing what they're doing. That's no way to live, Mishpachah. We have been born for great and mighty things. There's more to life than the way we've been living it. He sent among them swarms of flies that devoured them, and frogs which destroyed them, and gave their crops to the caterpillar, and their labor to the locust. He destroyed their vines with hail, and their sycamore trees with frost, and gave their beast over to hail, and their livestock to bolts of fire. He sent on them the burning of his displeasure, wrath and rage and distress, and deputation of messengers of evils. He made a path for his displeasure, and did not spare their being from death, but gave their life over to the plague. And he struck all the firstborn of Egypt, the first fruits of the strength in the tents of Ham. Then made his own people go forth like sheep, and led them in the wilderness like a flock. He led them on safely, and they did not fear, but the sea covered their enemies. And he brought them to the border of his set-apart place, this mountain which his right hand had gained, and drove out nations before them, and allotted them a measured inheritance, and made the tribes of Yasharal dwell in their tents. Yet they tried and rebelled against the Most High, and did not guard his witnesses. But they turned back and acted treacherously like their fathers. They twisted like a treacherous bow. For they enraged him with their high places, and moved him to jealousy with their carved images. When the Most High heard this, he was wroth, and greatly despised Yasharal. And he left the dwelling place of Shiloh, the tent which he had set up among men, and he gave his strength into captivity, and his comeliness into the hand of the adversary. And he gave his people over to the sword, and he was wroth with his inheritance. His young men were consumed by fire, and his maidens were not praised. His priests fell by the sword, and their widows could not weep. Then Yahuwah awoke as one asleep, as a mighty man who shouts because of wine. And he struck his adversaries backwards, and put them on an everlasting reproach. Then he rejected the tent of Joseph, and did not choose the tribe of Ephraim, but chose the tribe of Yehuda, Mount Zion, which he loved. And he built his set-apart place like the heights, like the earth he founded it forever. And he chose David his servant, and took him from the sheepfolds. He brought him in from tending the ewes, to shepherd Jacob his people, and Yasharal his inheritance. And he shepherded them according to the integrity of his heart, and led them by the skill of his hands. Now, can you tell me that anyone who's heard this message that I've been given, that I've been sharing with y'all, can you tell me that anyone that's heard this, if that's you, if you've heard this, can you tell me that you're any different than who he's talking about right now? And like I said, I'm not trying to offend you. I'm asking you an honest question. Can you answer this question honestly? He said they didn't remember his wonders. They didn't think about the things he did. They didn't act. They acted like, nah, he ain't gonna do that. Can you tell me that isn't how you're behaving? Because you're, by not picking up this message to even look to see, and with faith like a child to see if it's true, that's how you're behaving. So let me ask you this. I mean, what did you think if something like this ever came? Like, did you ever think that somebody eventually might have to do these things? That they'd have to stand in their faith? I mean, what do you, if you know, you probably know that this life, it's all about refining us, right? He's building a nation, right? Well, all those things, Moses and everything, that happened way back then. Aren't we supposed to be progressing closer to him, like doing bigger and mightier things than what was done before? But no one is willing to go look to see if it's true. No one wants to do those things that we're called to do. There's no coincidence, Mishpachah, that we just read what we did in 78, and there's no coincidence that 87 says what it says. His foundation is in the set-apart mountains. Yahuwah loves the gates of Sion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. Esteemed matters are spoken of you, O city of the Most High, Salah. I mention Rahab and Babel to those who know me. See, O Phoenicia and Sor with Cush, this and that one was born there. And of Sion it is said, each one was born in her, for the Most High himself does establish her. Yahuwah does write in the register of the peoples, this one was born there, Salah. And the singers and the players on instruments, all my fountains are in you. Look right here in Ezekiel chapter 16, Mish, please. Again, the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, Son of man, make known to Yerushalayim her abominations, and say, this is how he's going to make known to Yerushalayim her abominations. Thus said the Master Yahuwah to Yerushalayim, your origin and your birth are from the land of Canaan. Your father was an Amorite and your mother a Hittite. As for your birth, on the day you were born, your navel cord was not cut, nor were you washed in water for cleansing, and you were not rubbed with salt at all, nor wrapped in cloth at all. No eye felt sorry for you to do any of these for you, to have compassion on you, but you were thrown out into the open field, to the loathing of your life on the day you were born. Then I passed by you and saw you trampled down in your own blood, and I said to you, in your blood live. And I said to you, in your blood live. I have let you grow like a plant in the field, and you are grown and are great, and you come in the finest ornaments. Breasts were formed, your hair grew, and you were naked and bare. Again I passed by you and looked upon you and saw that your time was the time of carnal love. And I spread my skirt over you and covered your nakedness, and I swore an oath to you, an oath, and entered into a covenant with you, and you became mine, declares Yahuwah. What is that covenant? What's that oath? Okay? Mishpachah. This is how it has to be done. We have to consider the oath. If we can't consider the oath and the covenant, we aren't his. It's just plain and simple. If we can consider the covenant and the oath that he made to our fathers, and we believe that he is going to give it to us, if we can do that, then we can look to see if that place over there is our promise. It's the promised land. When we see that it ain't, then we look for the real place. And when we see the real place and we see it in the Word, we're going to see that we have to come back. And the timing for when we come back, it's in there too. I've been showing it to y'all. Mishpachah. Don't miss out on this. Y'all, I want to say once in a lifetime. It's now or never, Mishpachah. You have a choice. That's why we've been seeing all the stuff we've been seeing about the weighing of the heart, all these things. The Most High, he's telling you that if you want life, you're going to have to give it all you have. But that's what he wants. He wants you to give it all you got. If we can't even look into this, how much are we given to him? Have you ever thought to yourself, maybe, what if this is true? What if the Most High is trying to tell this to me? And I haven't even tried. I haven't even tried to pick it up to see if what he's saying is true. Can you imagine how much shame a person will be doused in if that's the case? If they realize one day that he was trying to tell me this and I refused, and I can only imagine what you did in, like what somebody, did instead, what they end up doing instead of going to look for this truth. I mean, did they go play the Xbox, or did they watch Jeopardy or something? You know what I mean? Like, this is serious, Mishpachah. If we truly love him, there's no reason we can't pick this up and look to see. Look at all the evidence I've brought you. I've brought you all the evidence anyone should ask for. You couldn't sit there and think of all the evidence I've showed to prove this is true. You could, if you had to ask Abba, like, well, I'm going to need this evidence to believe it. All the evidence he's given us and that I've relayed here on this channel, you couldn't think of that. Like, it's more than you could ever ask for. He's given you plenty. And I washed you in water, and I washed off your blood, and I anointed you with oil, and I dressed you in embroidered work, and gave you sandals of leather, and I wrapped you in fine linen, and covered you with silk, and I adorned you with ornaments, and put bracelets on your wrist, and a chain on your neck, and I put a ring on your nose, and earrings in your ears, and a crown of adorning on your head. Thus you were adorned with gold and silver, and your dress was of fine linen and silk and embroidered cloth. You ate fine flour and honey and oil, and you were exceedingly beautiful, and became fit for royalty. Fit for royalty, not for jeopardy, Mishpachah, not for going to the grocery store or clocking in and clocking out. No, fit for royalty. Who are we? If we're not royalty, if we weren't born to do these things, what were we born for? And you can't even say a mediocre life. What people are doing now, it's below that. It's below that. You know why? Because people nowadays, they talk a big game, but where are they come game day? Come game time, no one's on the field. No one is here ready to even play the game, let alone win. And your name went out among the nations because of your loveliness, for it was perfect by my splendor which I had put on you, declares the Master Yahuwah. But you trusted in your own loveliness, and whored because of your name, and poured out your whorings on everyone passing by who would have it. And you took some of your garments, and made multicolored high places for yourself, and whored on them, which should have not come about, nor shall it be. And you took your splendid ornaments of my gold and my silver that I gave you, and made for yourself images of a male, and whored with them. And you took your embroidered garments and covered them, and you set my oil and my incense before them. And my food which I gave you, fine flour and oil and honey which I fed you, you set it before them as sweet incense. So it was, declares the Master Yahuwah. And you took your sons and your daughters whom you bore to me, and these you slaughtered as food to them. Were your whorings a small matter, that you have slain my children and gave them up to them by causing them to pass through the fire? And in all your abominations and whorings you did not remember the days of your youth, when you were naked and bare, trampled down in your blood. Then it came to be after all your evil. Woe! Woe to you, declares the Master Yahuwah, that you also built an arched place for yourself, and made a high place in every street for yourself. You built your high places at the head of every way, and made your loveliness to be loathed. And you parted your feet to everyone who passed by, and increased your whorings. And you whored with the sons of Egypt, your neighbors great of flesh, and you increased your whorings to provoke me. And see, I have stretched out my hand against you, and withdrew what is lawfully yours, and gave you up to the desire of those who hate you, the daughters of the Philistines, who are ashamed of your wicked way. And you whored with the sons of Ashur without being satisfied, and you whored with them, and still were not satisfied. And you increased your whorings as far as the land of traders, Kasdima, and even then you were not satisfied. How weak is your heart, declares the Master Yahuwah, seeing you do all this, the deeds of a shameless whore. You built your arch place at the head of every way, and built your high place in every street, yet you were unlike a whore. You scorned a harlot fee, the wife who commits adultery, who takes strangers instead of her husband. There you go. If he's your husband, how come you ain't even looking to see if he is sending you a message? You know the answer. You know why. Because maybe it is you don't want to get your hands dirty. Maybe it is you don't want to get too serious about all these things. But you've seen over and over in his word, the cowards and the lazy, they're the first to go, my Mishpachah. Please wake up. To all whores they give gifts, but you gave gifts to all your lovers and bribed them to come to you from all around in your whorings. Thus you are different from other women in your whorings, because no one whores after you, and in you giving a harlot fee with a harlot fee was not given to you. Thus you are different. Therefore, O whore, hear the word of Yahuwah. Thus said the Master Yahuwah, because your copper was poured out, and your nakedness uncovered in your whorings with your lovers, there's that copper, and with the idols of your abominations, and because of the blood of your children which you gave to them. I'm going to pause for a second. And you know that there's never been any copper found over there in that place? Never. They claim that they tapped it all out and took it all at one time. And I've proven this. There's no gold there. There's no silver. The cedar trees can't grow there. The box trees can't grow there. Corn don't grow where they say Egypt never has grown there. It's native to here. It's from America. And so on and so on. I could just keep naming all the things I've brought to show y'all. It's sad. It really is. It's truly sad, my mishpachah. And I could understand. I could understand it if I was trying to share this great, awesome news with a bunch of people at like a Slipknot concert or something. I could understand that. If I was at like a Megadeth concert, I could understand them laughing and not picking this up. But y'all are supposed to be his children. And he's calling on you. And no, not how many of you, who of you are looking at this? What's it going to take? What's it going to take? And because of the blood of your children which you gave to them, therefore see, I am gathering all your lovers with whom you took pleasure, all those who you loved with all those you hated, and I shall gather them from all around against you, and shall uncover your nakedness to them, and they shall see all your nakedness. And I shall judge you with judgments of an adulteress and shedders of blood, and I shall bring on you the blood of wrath and jealousy. And we know why he's jealous. We see it over and over. He's jealous because of his Hakal, because of the set apart mountain, because no one's looking at it. No one cares about it. And I shall give you into their hand, and they shall throw your arch place down, and they shall break down your high places, and they shall strip you of your garments, and they shall take your splendid adornments, and leave you naked and bare. And they shall bring up an assembly against you, and they shall stone you with stones, and thrust you through with their swords, and burn your houses with fire, and execute judgments on you before the eyes of many women. And I shall make you stop whoring and no longer give harlot fees. So I shall bring my wrath to rest upon you, and my jealousy shall turn away from you, and I shall be calm and no longer be vexed, because you did not remember the days of your youth, but troubled me with all this. So see, I shall also bring your way on your own head, and I shall not do this thought for all of your abominations. See, all who use proverbs shall use this proverb against you, like mother, like daughter. There's that mother. You are your mother's daughter, who despises her husband and her children. And you are the sister of your sisters, who despised their husbands and their children. Your mother was a Hittite, and your father an Amorite. And your elder sister is Samaria, she and her daughters, who is dwelling to the north of you. And your younger sister, who is dwelling to the south of you, is Sodom and her daughters. And you have not walked in their ways, and did according to their abominations, but in all your ways you soon became more corrupt than they. As I live, declares the Master Yahuwah, neither your sister Sodom nor her daughters have done as you and your daughters have done. See, this was their crookedness, was the crookedness of your sister Sodom. She and her daughters had pride, sufficiency of bread, and unconcerned ease, and she did not help the poor and needy. And they were haughty and did abomination before me, and I took them away when I saw it. And Samaria did not commit half of your sins, but you have increased your abominations more than they, and by all the abominations which you have done, you made your sisters seem righteous. You also, who pleaded for your sisters, bear your own shame, because the sins which you committed were more abominable than theirs. They are more righteous than you, so be ashamed too, and bear your own shame, because you have made your sisters seem righteous. And I shall turn back their captivity, the captivity of Sodom and her daughters, the captivity of Samaria and their daughters, and the captivity of your captives with them, so that you bear your shame and shall blush for all that you did when you comforted them. And your sisters, Sodom and her daughters, return to their former state. Samaria, her daughters, return to their former state. And you and your daughters return to your former state. Was not your sister Sodom a byword in your mouth in the days of your pride? Because your evil was exposed as the time of the reproach of the daughters of Aram, and all who were around her, and all the daughters of the Philistines, who are despising you everywhere, spitting on you. You shall bear your wickedness and your abomination, declares Yahuwah. For thus said the Master Yahuwah, I shall deal with you as you have done, in that you have despised the oath by breaking the covenant. You see, he told you all that he just told you, just to get to the point, to let you know why it is, what it is that he's so mad about, upset about, that you've despised the oath by breaking the covenant. You don't even talk about it. You won't mention it. But I shall remember my covenant with you in the days of your youth, and I shall establish an everlasting covenant with you. And you shall remember your ways and be ashamed when you receive your older and your younger sisters. And I shall give them to you for daughters, though not by your own covenant. And I myself shall establish my covenant with you, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah, so that you remember. And you shall be ashamed and never open your mouth any more because of your shame, when I pardon you for all you have done, declares the Master Yahuwah. How is it, Mishpachah? Oops. How are we not going to mention or discuss this covenant that's to be made between us and him? Right here in Ezekiel 17, he tells you all about the abomination. That's why in the last verse, 24, it says, and all the trees of the field shall know that I, Yahuwah, have brought down the high tree and exalted the low tree, dried up the green tree, and made the dry tree flourish. I, Yahuwah, have spoken and shall do it. On the mountain height of Yasharal I plant it, and it shall bring forth branches and bear fruit and become a big cedar, and under it shall dwell birds of every sort. In the shadow of its branches they shall dwell. If you look, this whole chapter, that's what it's about. A great eagle with large wings came to Lebanon and took the top of the cedar, and then took it back and planted it in the field for seed. You see, into a different land, a distant land. This chapter 2 says, take up a lamentation for the leaders of Yasharal. And you shall say, what a lioness was your mother among the lions. She lay down among the lions. In the midst of the young lions she reared her cubs. And she brought up one of her cubs, and he became a young lion. And you see, the nations heard of him, and was caught in their pit, and they brought him with chains to the land of Egypt. And when she saw, as she waited, that her expectancy was lost, she took another of her cubs and made him a young lion. And you can see they put him in a cage, in chains, and brought him to the sovereign of Babel and put him in nets. So his roar was no longer heard on the mountains of Yasharal. Your mother was like a vine in your vineyard planted by the waters. And she had strong rods for her scepter of rulers, and her stature was exalted among the thick branches, and was seen in her height with the mass of its branches. But she was uprooted in wrath, she was cast down to the ground, and the east wind dried her fruit. Her strong rods were broken and withered, fire consumed them. Now she is planted in the wilderness, in a dry and thirsty land. And fire went out from a rod of her branches. It devoured her fruit, so that she has no strong rod, a scepter to rule. This is a lament, and it shall be a lament. Right here in 20, it's the same thing. He says, Son of man, speak to the elders of Yasharal and say to them, Thus said the Master Yahuwah, have you come to inquire of me? As I live, I am not be inquired of by you. He says, judge them, make known to them the abominations of their fathers. And he tells him, he says, on the day when I chose Yasharal and lifted my hand in an oath to the seed of the house of Jacob, and made myself known to them in the land of Mitzrayim, and I lifted my hand in an oath to them, to bring them into the land that I searched out for them, flowing with milk and honey, the splendor of all lands. And it is the splendor of all lands. And then down here, he says right here, for on my set-apart mountain, on the mountain height of Yasharal, declares the Master Yahuwah, there all the house of Yasharal, all of them in the land, shall serve me. There I shall accept them. There I shall accept them. And there I shall require your offerings and the first fruit of your offerings, together with all your set-apart gifts. Your set-apart gifts. You're getting in the car, put it into drive, and put your foot on the gas. And I shall gather you out of the lands where you have been scattered, and I shall be set apart in you before the nations. And you shall know that I am Yahuwah when I bring you into the land of Yasharal, into the land which I lifted my hand in an oath to give to your fathers. And there you shall remember your ways, all your deeds which you were defiled. Say, and you shall say to the forests of the south, hear the word of Yahuwah. Thus said the Master Yahuwah, see, I am kindling a fire in you, and it shall devour every green tree and every dry tree in you. The blazing flame is not quenched, and it shall burn all faces from the south to the north. And all flesh shall see that I, Yahuwah, have kindled it. It is not quenched. And I said, Ah, Master Yahuwah, they are saying of me, is he not speaking parables? No one wants to hear it, but you're going to know. You should already know. You should already see what's going on. You should know exactly what's going on. And right here, this is what's going on right now, Mishpachah. I mean, you're either going to believe it or you're not, but right here. 21:12, cry and wail, son of man, and it shall be on my people, on all leaders of Yasharal, they shall be delivered to the sword together with my people. Therefore strike your thigh, for it is a trier. And what if it even despises the rod? Shall it not be, declares the Master Yahuwah? And you, son of man, prophesy and strike your hand, striking. Let the sword come down twice, thrice, the sword for the slain. It is the sword of the slain, the great one, which surrounds them. I have set the point of the sword against all their gates, to melt the heart, and that the overthrown be many. Ah, it is made like lightning, keen for slaughter. Sharpen yourself on the right, set yourself on the left, wherever your edge is appointed. And I too, I shall strike my hands together and cause my wrath to rest. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. And the word of Yahuwah came to me again, saying, and you, son of man, appoint for yourself 2 ways. Remember the book of 2 ways I showed you, right? 2 ways for the sword of the sovereign of Babel to go, both of them coming from one land, and place a signpost, put it at the head of the way to the city. Appoint a way for the sword to go to Rabbah of the Ammonites, and to Yehuda into the walled Jerusalem. For the sovereign of Babel shall stand at the parting of the way, at the fork of the 2 ways, to practice divination. Do you see? What would he be talking about right there? What would the sovereign of Babel be standing, what divination would he be doing if he's standing at the fork of the parting of the 2 ways, Mishpachah? You have to see this. He shall ask the household idols, he shall look at the liver. In his right hand shall be the divination for Jerusalem, to set up battering rams, to call murder for murder, to lift the voice with shouting, to set battering rams against the gates, to heap up a siege mound, to build a wall. And it shall be to them as a false divination in the eyes of those who have sworn oaths to them. There you go. You see? But he is bringing their crookedness to remembrance so that they are taken. That's what you're seeing right now, Mishpachah. I couldn't have seen this. If you're wondering how I'm seeing this, it's because it's the time to see it. That's the only answer. Therefore, thus said the Master Yahuwah, because you have made your crookedness to be remembered, in that your transgressions are uncovered, so that your sins are seen in all your deeds, because you have been remembered, you are taken by hand. And to you, O profane, wrong one, leader of Yasharal, whose day has come in the time of the crookedness of the end. Thus said the Master Yahuwah, remove the turban, take off the crown, this shall not remain. Exalt the humble and humble the exalted. Overthrown, I make it overthrown. It shall be no longer, until he comes to whom it rightly belongs, and I shall give it. Meshbika, I told you that the movie I Pet Goat 2 is all about this. Just try to remember, if you remember watching that, what happens in that little cartoon when it shows the scepter. It shows like a dome looking place with a scepter. What happens? Just try to remember what happens to that place. Yeah, that's what happens. And then it shows the new place, the scepter, and the child rising up, spinning, dancing up towards the moon, dressed in white. And that was only till the child who the image was breathing over, was convincing, making it sad, when it saw the Messiah, when the child saw Messiah, the image took off running. And then he got a smile on his face and he started walking towards the land. That's why everything we've seen, it has to be you have to go to the Word to see it. And you know why no one's seeing it? Because they're not going to the Word. They're not going to the Word. Right here. Return it to its sheath, in the place where you were created, in the land of your origin, I shall judge you. Right here, chapter 22. I haven't been lying when I've been telling you the whole Bible basically is about this. And now, son of man, judge the city of blood, and you shall show her all her abominations. And you shall say, thus said the Master Yahuwah, the city sheds blood in her midst, that her time might come, and she has made idols within herself to become defiled. Therefore I shall make you a reproach to the nations and a mockery to all lands. Those near and those far from you mock you. Defiled is your name, and great the confusion. Whose name is defiled? Who is causing great confusion, Mishpachah? And look, down here. And I sought for a man among them who would make a wall and stand in the breach before me on behalf of the land, that I should not destroy it, but I did not find one. Therefore I have poured out my displeasure on them. I have consumed them with the fire of my wrath, and I have put their way on their own head, declares the Master Yahuwah. And that's when we get to chapter 23 right here. Son of man, there were two women, daughters of one mother. See? Olaha and Olabah. What we read before. And you see, there is one man though. Because right here, at the end of 24, it says, on that day, one that has escaped shall come to you to let you hear it with your ears. On that day your mouth shall be open to him who has escaped, and you shall speak and no longer be silent. And you shall be a sign to them, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah. See, he says, on the day when I take them from their stronghold, this is the day. I wouldn't be speaking this, Mishpachah. That's what you have to understand. I wouldn't be speaking this if it wasn't that day. I'm nobody. I'm a nobody. I've been out here just, out here laboring just like everyone else, basically. But I'm no one who would. There's been philosophers and scholars and stuff read this word and they've never seen this. Why is it that I'm seeing this, Mishpachah? This is happening. You're gonna have to see the truth in this. Right here, every chapter. This is 26. Then I shall bring you down with those who go down into the pit, to the people of old, and I shall make you dwell in the lowest parts of the earth, in waste of old, with those who go to the pit, so that you do not return, but I shall establish splendor in the land of the living. I make you a whore, and let you be no more. And you are sought for, but never found again, declares the Master Yahuwah. Right here, this is chapter 27. It's about the dry bones. It's all about bringing them home. Right here. And they shall no longer defile themselves with their idols, nor with their disgusting matters, nor with any of their transgressions. And I shall save them from all their dwelling places in which they have sinned. And I shall cleanse them, and they shall be my people, and I be their most high. While David my servant is the sovereign over them, and they shall all have one shepherd, and walk in my right rulings, guard my laws, and shall do them. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given to Jacob my servant, where your fathers dwelt. And they shall dwell in it, they and their children and their children's children forever. And my servant David be their prince forever, and I shall make a covenant of peace with them, an everlasting covenant is with them. And I shall place them and increase them, and shall place my set-apart place in their midst forever. And my dwelling place shall be over them, and I shall be their most high, and they shall be my people. And the nation shall know that I, Yahuwah, am setting Yasharal apart, when my set-apart place is in their midst forever. Chapter 38, 39, it's the same thing. Now I am going to bring back the captives of Jacob, and I shall have compassion on all the house of Yasharal, and shall be jealous for my set-apart name. And they shall have borne their shame on all their trespass they committed against me, when they dwell safely in their own land, with none to make them afraid. When I have brought back from the peoples and gathered them out of the lands of their enemies, and I shall be set apart in them before the eyes of many nations. And they shall know that I am Yahuwah, their Most High, who sent them into exile among the nations, and then gathered them back to their own land, and left none of them behind. And no longer do I hide my face from them, for I shall have poured out my spirit on the house of Yasharal, declares the Master Yahuwah. Look, and this is why we need to know the measurements of the Hakal, of the set apart, of the slaughter place. Look, he says, and he went inside, measured the doorpost 2 cubits, and the entrance 6 cubits high, and the width of the entrance 7 cubits. That's 42 cubits. 42 cubits for the doorpost. There's a reason that these numbers are in here. And he measured the wall of the house 6 cubits, and the width of each room all around the house was 4 cubits on every side. That's 24. That's 24 cubits. And look, you must know them, because right here, look. Right here. I'll start from the top. And he led me to the gate facing east, and see the esteem of the Most High Yasharal came from the way of the east, and his voice was like the sound of many waters, and the earth shone from his esteem. From his esteem. Shone from his esteem. That's so true, because I've told this story before, and I'm not trying to toot my own whistle. I'm trying to get you to see what's happened, what Abba's done with me, and made me do. When I was in Illinois, I'll tell the story again. I seen this in the Word one night, and this was about 2.5 years ago, maybe, roughly, something like that. I think it was in 2021, and I seen this in the Word, and my son was asleep, and I was going to talk to him about it and just show him, like I read the Word to him once in a while, and I was like, man, look at what I seen. I was going to show him the next day. I went to sleep. I woke up. He was already awake, and he said he had a dream, and he said, Dad, you're never going to believe what I dreamed. And I said, what? And he said, Israel is in America. And this is the dream he had. He said that Abba took me and him to a face on the side of a mountain, and we were looking at it, and then he showed us this tall tree where the Messiah was hung. And he said, and he showed us the blood that ran down the tree. And my son never hears anything like that. I mean, not, to be saying that. It wasn't random. Just like my mom's dream about the boat wasn't random. This wasn't random. And he said that he took us to this fence, and then he left me and him at this fence, and he said that I pulled out a pair of wire cutters out of my pocket and cut a hole through the fence, the chain link fence, and we climbed through, and that there were flowers, big flowers, that they began to blossom in front of our face, and we were overcome with joy. That's what he said. And then years before that, I had a dream where I was on a flat top mountain. I've told this dream before, and I was looking south, and I thought I was looking at Houston. Well, what is in Houston for me, how the Most High works, because he knows all the right moves, that's where my dad's people are from. That's where all my dad's people are from, Houston, Texas. And I was looking at that. And then he's led me out here. He showed me the face and the map. He showed me this, nothing, it's nonstop. Nothing but hardcore evidence is what he's shown me. That's why the earth was shown from his esteem. This channel, for those of you who don't know, it used to be named De Facto in the Remnant, but I changed it to All Esteem because I realized that the only way to get home, to get to the finish line, you have to give all esteem, face down. That's why the earth was shown. Why do you think it says that? These people think that means Abba's light was radiating off of him. They're so simple. These people need to snap out of it and wake up from fantasy land. That's where they're at. And it was like the appearance of the vision which I saw, like the vision which I saw when he came to destroy the city, and the visions were like the vision which I saw by the river Kabar, and I fell on my face. But right here, look. Okay, it says, right here, Son of man, explain the house to the house of Yasharal, and when they are ashamed of their crookednesses, they shall measure the measurements. Crookednesses is doing something that it's not broke. It's not something completely different. It's not like you're at a Slipknot concert. No, crookedness means you're trying to do something. You're reading the word of the Most High. You say you're living for him. You think you're living for him, whatever it is, but it's crooked. It's not, it's warped. It's bent. It's not right. When they are ashamed of that, they shall measure the measurements. And since they shall be ashamed of all that they did, make known to them the design of the house, and its structure, and its exits, and its entrances, its entire design, and all its laws, and all its forms, and all its Torah, and write it down before their eyes, so that they observe its entire design, and all its laws, and shall do them. They got to do the design. This is the Torah of the house upon the mountaintop. All the boundary of it, all around it is most set apart. See, this is the Torah of the house. And then all these measurements, it tells you. The people build their own wall, and with the sons of the Kasdim, the sons of Babylon on it. That's Jesus, Jupiter, Santa Claus, Easter bunnies, all that stuff. Any kind of false god. It makes a wall in between him and them. Until they take that down, they can't even see the finish line. Once they do that, then they can understand that the Torah is the boundary of the house. That you're not coming into the house unless you're wanting to do the desire of the Most High. And just go back and think about what I've been saying about this treasure map, and that the separating of the wheat and the chaff, it's separating those who don't love him. He's not going to marry people who really ain't bowdy. They really aren't serious about him. This ain't a joke. This ain't a game. And that's what I've been saying. These people, everyone who's doing this, if you ain't serious about the Most High, then why do we talk about the Most High? Why do we read his word? Why are we out here claiming to be something? If we really can't be serious about this, like if you're a dad and your daughter's courting some young man, and he comes and asks you for her hand in marriage. If you can clearly see that he wants you to think he's serious about it, he wants you to think that he's gonna protect her and provide for her, but you can see that soon as the rings are on each other's fingers, soon as the wedding's over with, he'll go to being a big jack off, like you already know that he is. He ain't serious. Are you gonna let your daughter marry him without putting up a fight? Are you gonna just give your hand in blessing, give your blessing on them? You're not. The Most High, he's chief. He's not a chump. He understands who loves him and who don't, and who's bowdy. He can tell from your works, from how bad do you want it. Look, Mishpachah, this might be your last chance. Look, he says in verse 3 of 44, the prince as prince, he sits in the gate to eat bread before Yahuwah, coming in by way of the porch of the gate and going out the same way. That means you have to eat the truth, the bread, the prince, to get in this gate. And he brought me back by the way of the north gate to the front of the house, and I looked and saw the esteem of Yahuwah filled the house of Yahuwah, and I fell on my face. And Yahuwah said to me, Son of man, set your heart and see with your eyes and hear with your ears all that I say to you concerning all the laws of the house of Yahuwah and all its Torah. And you shall set your heart to where? To the entrance of the house, and with all the exits of the set apart place, and shall say to the rebellious, to the house of Yasharal, thus said the Master Yahuwah, O house of Yasharal, enough of all these abominations of yours, that you brought in sons of a foreigner, uncircumcised in heart and uncircumcised in flesh, to be in my set apart place, to profane it, my house. that you brought near my food, the fat and the blood, and you broke my covenant because of all your abominations. How do you break his covenant? With abominations, you should know. And you did not guard the charge of that which is set apart to me, but you have set others to guard the charge of my set apart place for you. No son of a foreigner, uncircumcised in heart or uncircumcised in flesh. Let me ask you, is Jesus, is he circumcised in heart and circumcised in flesh? He's not. He isn't. He brings about the uncircumcised. He brings about everything. Look, you're not uncircumcised. You're not circumcised in heart until you have a heart to love the Most High. If we can't even look to see if the covenant's been broke, we don't even care about the covenant. We ain't even mentioning the covenant of going home. We think we're getting twinkled up into pixie dust into the sky. We're not humble in any sense of the word. Because they attended to them before their idols and became a stumbling block of crookedness to the house of Yasharal. Therefore I have lifted my hand in an oath against them, declares the Master Yahuwah, that they shall bear their crookedness and not come near to me to serve me as my priests, nor come near any of that which is set apart to me, nor into the most set apart place. And they shall bear their shame and their abominations which they have done. And it's no coincidence, Mish, that chapter 45 is all about our inheritance, dividing the land, and 25,000 cubits, 25 cubits, 52. So it's no coincidence that it's 45. And Utah is the 45th state. And like I said, I didn't have any of the screenshots, but I will bring them next time, Abba willing, and show you all the significance in those Wikipedia page, in that Wikipedia page. And there's no coincidence that it's talking about that this is the contribution which you present. You shall give 1/6 of an ephah from a homer of wheat and 1/6 of an ephah from a homer of barley. Remember what it said in Zechariah when it's talking about the flying scroll, that it's the ephah measure. It's wrongness. It's the in that book, the flying scroll shall land in the house of the thief, those who swear falsely by his name. All these numbers, there's the 200. We've been seeing the 200. All these numbers are it's telling you something. This is how Abba's worked. He's telling us something. What we got to do. He wouldn't be saying over and over and over again throughout his word that he would bring us back in the end times. If, we see this as the end time, and we see that his word's saying that over and over again, that he's going to gather us and bring us back, draw us back, whistle for us, pour out his spirit upon us to come home and guard the covenant, the oath. If this is the end time, then you have to understand that that's what he's doing. That's what you're hearing right now. Right here in the first month, on the 14th day of the new moon, you have the Passover. If the, let's just say it says the 14th day, the eclipse is on the 8th day. Okay? 6 days away would be the 14th, right? Don't be surprised if it's right around that time, Mishpika. The end of them 2,300 days is in August 4th on the 84th day. I've proven it to you. It's going to be right around that time. Who knows when the Passover, but you've seen in Daniel, it's for the appointed time. But if that's the case, yeah, this winter, it'll be a long winter, yeah. But what could happen by then? How do you know you got that much time if you haven't went and looked? How do you know? You've seen, I've shown it to you over and over and over again, that you have to follow the fountains of life. That's what it's all about. If you're not, it's going to become blood to you. You're going to die. It's wormwood. All it takes is for you to pick up right here. And on that day, the prince shall prepare himself, and for all the people of the land, a bull for a sin offering. You know what a bull for a sin offering means? It's the bull of your lips, That's what that is. It's not, he tells us that he don't desire for you to kill animals and sprinkle blood anywhere. That he owns them. If he wanted that, he'd do it himself. He desires for you to want to love him, to pick up his word, the prince, and look at it and read it, desiring to want to know if what this guy David is saying is true. Because why would he be saying it? He ain't asking for me to like, share, and subscribe. He hasn't asked for support. He sounds like he's genuinely concerned that none of us will look at this. Wouldn't you think that if he was up about something else, if he had an agenda, we would have figured it out by now? That he's practically begged us to look at this word. I'm trying to shake and wake you guys up, Mishpika. Not wake and bake, but shake and wake, if you know what I mean. The opposite of wake and bake. Wake up before it's too late. Don't be out on the other side of that door, Mishpika. Come home. Guard that charge, Mishpika. Guard the covenant. Care about it. Don't despise it. You know, I've proven this to you, to whoever listened to this too, that the word despised, it actually means to silence. It's to forget. That's why he always says they despised my name, because they forgot it. There ain't nobody walking around saying, I hate his name. I don't like him. That's, well, some people, but the majority of the world, they're despising his name because they haven't picked it up. They haven't looked at it. Well, we've seen, I just read it to you, how they despise the oath and the covenant. They ain't no one talking about it. Look what he's did for us. Look at the wonders he's did. The only reason no one's willing to do this, it's maybe because they doubt it. They must doubt him. They must doubt that he could do these things for them, that this would be real, that this could actually be happening, that they doubt that he could actually prepare a table for them in the wilderness. Have no doubt, Mishpika. Be of faith. All esteem, all honor, all praise, and all glory to Abba Yahuwah, the Most High, our wonderful Creator. Off your face. Come back to that set-apart place.